asked Havlicek once. He had no idea you had him.
I don't think he thinks a lot about what I think. You know? He's John Havlicek. You know, he's a whiz.
Manu was questionable early. Is he available? Or
He is questionable,
Pop, just
but probably out.
oh, generous today. What did you tell DeJounte Murray when he went home this summer? What you wanted to see, and what did he come back with?
Well, number one, I wanted him to be healthy. I mean, he missed, you know, most of the season last year, so he didn't really get a rookie season, and he was hurt in the summer league. So I just wanted him to get stronger and get his body in shape. That was number one. And number two was to understand that starting out, he's got the type of gifts that can make him an elite defender, and he should start his game with that while Chip England works on his shot. I want him to defend and rebound and, you know, just start to understand the league and figure things out.
Length helps, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Celtics made a lot of changes, obviously, this offseason. How different, if at all, do they look when you watch them on film now as far as execution?
I haven't watched them. Have you watched my team?
Yeah, I saw you guys playing the
You think I have enough work to do right there?
A little bit.
So now I got to do two teams? I'm not that good.
Pop, regarding Manu, what has it meant having him back again for another season?
You know, he's like, as you all know, he's an ultimate warrior. He's been a winner in a lot of different ways in a lot of places. And for us, he's like, you know, the fiber and the backbone of the spirit of the team, you know, along with Patty Mills and Tony and Timmy. So, you know, now it's shifting to LaMarcus and Kawhi, that kind of thing. But in the meantime, he's just like sort of like a pacifier, you know. Kids look for their pacifiers. I look for Manu. When I see him in the gym, I feel better.
Has LA brought it this coming brought it coming into this season after some conversations and
what were those conversations? What are you trying to say?
You had dialogue.
Those are fake
LA.
conversations.
Oh.
It never happened. He didn't ask to get traded. Oh, excuse me.
I wouldn't ask you about fake news, Pop.
You know, he wasn't a happy camper at the end of the year. He wasn't a problem or anything. He was great. He's been a great teammate, played well. But he was, you know, not feeling confident in his game and a little confused on, you know, maybe what I wanted and that sort of thing. And I've said before in this season, I put that on me. I spent the summer, you know, breaking bread with him, and my big mistake, I think, was I tried to coach him at the offensive end too much. I was like going to be this hellacious coach and give him this move and that move and have him do this and do that. And what I did was confuse the young man. And I didn't realize that when Timmy came, and people would say, what are you going to do with Timmy? I said, nothing, I'm going to watch. And I watched him for 4 or 5 months. And obviously, he didn't need a whole lot of coaching. But, you know, there are things you can talk to a player about and clean up, paint up, fix up, you know, this sort of thing. I did that with Timmy. With LaMarcus, I just sort of ignored it in the very beginning and didn't realize how much that means that somebody's been doing something one way for 9 years. And so when I grabbed him, you know, all of a sudden we were going to work on Sigma moves and off the block, and we're going to put him on the elbow, and we're going to do this and that. And that was unwise on my part, and I really didn't understand that I was confusing him for, you know, most of the time. And he bore through that. You know, he was, like I said, a great teammate. He worked hard. He was really good for us at the defensive end and continues to be that way. So we ironed that out, and, you know, I let him play his game with the offensive end.
I'm sorry.
I don't say anything to him. You know, he knows what to do. That's what he's used to doing, and that's fine. So that's worked out better. And he came to camp in great shape, very committed. I think we just signed him an extension, didn't we?
Brad
I'm just saying. Worked out pretty good.
Brad Stevens was just raving about you. I'm just wondering what you thought about the way he's matured as a coach in the NBA.
I don't think that much of him. But I'm glad he thinks well of me. I enjoy that because I want to be larger than everyone around me. And I enjoy making them smaller. So.
Can I revisit pacifier as Manu being your pacifier since he was like tormented you the first few years he was? Could we
Oh, he
revisit
did.
it?
That's.
But the evolution of him, I guess, really.
Well, I just had to. Well, let me finish this question
Yeah.
first.
You almost made headlines. Yeah. Just what do you think of the way he's grown as a coach?
Popovich disses Stevens. You know?
Trying to overcompensate for your small hands, too.
Yeah, exactly. He is a special person, and that's on and off the court. He's very intelligent, and intelligence is fine, but if it doesn't come along with incisiveness and judgment and an emotional maturity, it doesn't do you much good. And he's got all those things, and that's large. Not that many people have that, and it shows the way he handles people, the way he coaches. He's going to be a great one before it's all over with, and he's already a hell of a coach.
He says he's not going to coach as long as you did, though. Not gonna.
That would be smart on his part. I would advise him to do that. He's got many more capabilities than me. This is all I can do. With Manu, you're right in the beginning. He would do some things that were just, I thought, unnecessary until that point came where he finally came to me and said, I am Manu. This is what I do. Truly, quote unquote. I said, okay, you go ahead and just try to save 1 or 2 of those passes per game, and I'll shut up 1 or 2 times when they happen during the game. And we came to this compromise, and it's been lovey-dovey ever since.
Pop, who are some of the better off-ball cutters you've coached over the years?
Off-ball cutters. I haven't thought about that very much. We haven't done that much cutting. For a lot of years, we just threw it to Timmy and watched. Not a whole lot of cutting. Then if somebody double-teamed, we said, well, you go cut through the lane. But that could have been anybody. So we never had, we didn't have a guy that ran around, as well as like Ray Allen or Reddick, people like that. Those aren't the kind of players that we've had.
Pop, I mean, you've kind of, with what you've accomplished and what's going on, what happened with LaMarcus, you could have easily said my way or the highway, and you didn't. You decided to change. What has made you a coach at your states that still very much listens to your guys as opposed to saying, you see the rings, the banners on the wall, this is what I do, and do it my way?
Well, I think to say that isn't just unwise. I think it's, it takes a lot of hubris and a lot of ego to think that your way is the only way, or there's not something that you can change based on what you see on the court. And I still remember the first meal we had after that when he wanted to get traded, and so I said, let's go to lunch. And he came there, he said, how come you haven't cursed me out yet? He said, well, how come you haven't, told me that, you don't want to see me or you want to do this or do that? I said, well, selfish reason is you're a hell of a player. I'd like to keep you here. And number 2, I want to see what I can do to understand why you're feeling what you feel. Because intellectually, I really wanted to know. Because that hasn't happened very often in our program. And I really wanted to know what the deal was. And he was honest and transparent about it, so I thought that I owed him the same thing. And it's, it's for the good of the whole group. So that's more important than any one of us.
Just wondering, you haven't signed very many high-profile free agents ever. Your guys are homegrown. Is this maybe I don't want to say a byproduct of that, but perhaps an understanding that you had to acquire that you didn't had to in the past?
I think it's a great comment. There are probably other coaches that have had more experience and had to deal with that a lot more than me. And so, at a later age in my career, I had to see if I was going to be mature enough to listen. And I'm glad I did, because he's a great guy. I mean, he's somebody who cares about what's going on, and you got somebody like that. Now, if he was a jerk and he was just a disrespectful, selfish person who wasn't a great teammate, I'd have carted him out long ago, or said, yeah, good, I'll try to get you out of here as fast as I can. but that's not who he is.
Coach, what do you remember about Aaron Baines most from his time that he spent with you guys?
His haircut. I mean, who told him that that looks good? I mean, what would go through his mind to think that that's attractive? That's the first thing I always wondered about it. But he's so big and strong, I never asked him that question. So I'll do it here when he's not. I do it behind his back. This is a little bit of a stretch, but he's like, for all you guys and gals, he should make you think of Dave Cowens in a way. I mean, obviously he's not in that league, but his hustle, his desire on every single play, his aggressiveness, his physicality, all that sort of thing, it always reminded me of Dave. And on top of that, he's a great teammate, great sense of humor, really enjoys playing. He's a great guy to have on a team.
The sense of humor, that explains the haircut.
That could be.
Come on, just put it, do the math.
Yeah.
Patty, you notice anything to start the season? A lot of guys, they might be tense when they're slumping like that, but you've seen anything different, or was it just a matter of shots not falling? Right?
Yeah, he just hasn't gotten his rhythm as far as shooting goes, and it'll happen. He's a good shooter. There's not much you can do about that. Just let him stay. Try to keep him confident. Don't harangue him and ask him why and tell him to do this, that, and the other. He's a pro. He's a shooter, and shooters shoot.
Any thoughts on the kind of the mandate of playing your guys on national games? It's something that
Frankly, I think it's a little bit cloudy. But it's all done in good faith to make the fans feel like they're seeing what they want to see for their money, which I understand. I'm just glad I was never one of those guys that arrested people.
You trying to run for office or something?
Camera for that.
But and so the league, obviously, they've compromised a great deal. The schedule is great. I mean, the way they've reduced, back-to-backs and 4 and 5 nights and that sort of thing. Adam listened, and I think that's huge. It speaks a lot for how much he cares about the players in the league. And the fans are important too, and we got to understand that. So some of the stuff is in stone and should not be negotiable. Like, well, obviously Kawhi is hurt, but if Kawhi was healthy, we played last night. I need to play him tonight, even though it's a back-to-back, because we're on the road and he only plays in Boston once. So same thing with the LeBron or whoever it might be. That makes sense, and so I can deal with that. On the TV games, the only thing I wonder about is how far down does the list go where it says I forget the words, not your important players or your star players or your marquee players or something like that. There's a word, I can't remember what the adjective was. But how far down the list does it go? How do you know which ones they're going to tell us which ones are the marquee players and which ones aren't? I guess they will if we don't play them and the fine comes. Then we'll know that guy was a marquee player.
It's like, yeah.
Coaching your team, I mean, you know who's tired and who needs.
Yeah, and everybody, we've all made those points over the summer in various committees and that sort of thing, because it is true. Careers can be extended, and fans can see a better game if players are ready to play. But that fourth night, in 5 or double back-to-backs, in 4 and 5, that's the product isn't great. But Adam understands that.
You mentioned Brad off the court, what this kind of person is. In terms of your eloquently stated social beliefs, do you feel like you're on safe ground in Massachusetts?
Sure I do. I don't worry about where I am. I'm on safe ground in my heart, and I know what I feel, and I feel that the more it's expressed, the more people might become aware and at least talk to other people and realize that there's something there that is beyond party, beyond tribe, and all that sort of thing. That it's about people and who we live with. And in a way, it's like we're all in the same boat. We just don't know it.
If you caught any backlash
From whom?
steps, I guess, from anyone? I mean, you know, league people, ownership, knuckleheads.
No.
I know you've got backlash.
Yeah, there's been some knucklehead backlash for sure. Some of it, you know, kind of disturbing, but most places I've gone and been, people have been quite positive about things at least being said and made public. But as far as ownership or the league, none whatsoever. Absolutely none.
You describe a crisis of leadership in the country?
Well, I'm not running for office now, so I'm not gonna,
I understand.
I don't want to get too deeply into this.
I promise,
If
Steve,
you
I'd
want to have
follow
a,
up.
if you want to
I'd
have a
follow up on
discussion
Steve's question.
about race or whatever, you know, we need a little bit more time.
With Kawhi, you left the door open a little bit last week. Is he out for Thursday too against Golden State?
I don't even ask. Seriously, I mean, when they tell me he's ready, then I know he's ready. But, you know, he doesn't like to be bugged about it all the time. I don't want to hear it all the time. You know, you all are going to ask the question, and I understand. But when he comes back, then when they tell me he's ready to go, then I'll look at him on the court and I'll decide if I agree. And then he and I can talk about it. But the first step is for them to tell me he's ready to go.
You're one away from tying Phil. Do you think about the wins right now at this point?
Yeah, it's the most important thing in my life. I would even my grandchildren can take a hike. What I might do when I retire, what kind of wine I'm going to have at dinner, all those things pale by comparison when I think about how many wins I have. And I hope I can coach long to get as more than anybody that ever had them. I want more than everybody.
You think about your legacy?
Popovich, selfish about wins. He was right. He was right about all you guys.
You can only get the silver medal next week.
I'm sorry, what did you ask?
No, I said, do you think about your legacy?
No, I don't. No.
If you're in it,
I think about my friends and my wife, my family, my grandchildren, what I'm going to eat and drink, what restaurant I want to go to, when I'm going to see my friends, you know, things that